He's gonna talk about everything.
Everything. I have to talk about everything?
Yes.
All right, well, my name's Bill or Billy, so usually family and friends call me Billy. Everybody at work calls me Bill because I'm gonna be official. So I'll be talking to you today. So at any point you got questions, just stop me and ask questions or whatever. I'm pretty easy going. So I guess before I get started, how old are you all?
15.
15, so.
18.
Oh, we got 17?
17.
Yeah, 17. Just getting to a point where we either have dream cars or we have a car. Yeah, what do you got?
83 Ranger.
83 Ranger?
With a 302 in it.
With a 302. Very nice. Very nice. Any other cars?
87 Cadillac Alante.
What is it? Cadillac what?
Alante.
Okay. Any others? No? No car? Any dream cars yet?
Yes.
Jeep? Yeah, there you go. Any other dream cars? Camaro? Yeah.
Trans Am.
Trans Am. What else?
58 Thunderbird.
58 Thunderbird? That'd be nice. That'd be nice. With a 302? 351?
Probably the 302, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know much about the engines in the Thunderbirds. I haven't really done much looking into them. I just like the body style a lot. First one to get hydraulics too.
Yeah, there you go. I like bags myself. Hydraulics, a little rougher.
Bags are better for speed anyways.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's get started. So I'm coming to you from Dana Incorporated. So if you like Jeeps, we make all the axles, drive shafts for Jeeps, all of the steering shafts, all that fun stuff. So a little bit about myself before I get into all the boring work stuff. So I'm from small town Kentucky. So where I grew up, we didn't have stop sign, stoplight, nothing, right? Just out in the country. Grew up poor. We didn't have anything. I remember my first pair of Nikes were hand-me-downs from another kid in town that had a hole in the bottom of them about the size of a dime, and I wore those until it was about the size of a $50. So that's how poor we were. And so from there, in high school, my whole focus was on school and getting the heck out of it. So that was always my dream in life. It's like, hey, I gotta get myself out of this situation. We grew up raising tobacco, cutting tobacco, and I know nobody gets the pleasure of doing that anymore, but that's not easy work. Cutting tobacco, hanging tobacco, pulling it back down, stripping it, and baling it, and taking it off to auction, and all that fun stuff. Just wasn't any fun at all. So I originally wanted to be a school teacher, and my dad said, the engineers make all the money, go be an engineer. So that's what I started. So in high school, I made sure to take all the math classes, calculus, all that boring stuff, and then went to Cincinnati State to get my electromechanical engineering degree. And so the room over here next to us that has all the robots and the PLCs and stuff, that's what I went to school for. And that's what I did in the early part of my career. Well, that wasn't enough for me, right? So I had a young family at that time. Had the first kid, still broke. I still remember going to Walmart and the kids be yelling for something in the checkout lane for like $1, and I'm like, not today, kid, because the bank account says zero, so we're going to get just enough food to survive, and that's it. So that kept me motivated, right, to continue to go back to college. So at that point, the company, Dana, I was working for Dana Corporation, decided to ship me off to Texas, so moved to Texas, and that's where we raised our kids. And while I was there, I went back to school. I got my bachelor's degree from LeTourneau University, and then decided that wasn't enough either, and went back, got my master's degree from LeTourneau University. So there's just this always wanting more out of life and to be able to experience more in life. And even as I was telling Abby, I've been looking to get my PhD to go into teaching, because as I said, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be teaching young people. Now I'm to a point where I want to teach young people, number one, if you want to do things in life, how to get there, and then number two, just sticking with things, right? And to teach what I've learned through my career and how to be successful in business and all those fun things. So one of these days I'm going to retire from this rat race, and then I'll go into a school system and teach young people. So you see some of the stuff I'm into. So I have a 52 Chevy, and so this has got a Corvette LT1 in it with a LS ignition on top of it. So it's pretty rowdy. It's on bags. So you see it here, it drops all the way on the ground. Also have one of the original Jeeps, so the CJ5. So as I said, I work for Dana Corporation. We make the axles, so it's only natural that I would have a Jeep, right? I mean, it's kind of like if you work there, you got to have one. So we've been tinkering with that, my wife and I. So she likes wrenching on cars. So if you look at her hands, are usually about as dirty and cut up, scarred up as mine are, because she likes to get in there and tinker as well. I love to ride dirt bikes. So when I do get free time, which is not very often because I travel around the world for Dana Corporation, but when I get free time, I like to be out on a trail somewhere. So a brand new TE 300 Pro that I have there, the Husqvarna, the gray one. Very proud of that one. So as I said, growing up, we didn't have a whole lot. So to have a dirt bike, Matt, you had to go find, somebody who's willing to get rid of one because of a piece of junk, and you had to fix it up and ride it. So that was actually this past year my very first brand new dirt bike, and I was really proud of that. I also love traveling. As I said, I've had the opportunity to travel all over the world, and my wife and I, we have a Sprinter van that we travel all over the place and try to see as many things in this big world as we possibly can. And this past year, she drugged me to Disney. Believe it or not, I'm not the biggest fan of people, and a bit of an introvert, which is kind of surprising, right? Like, oh, an introvert or standing in front of a group of kids speaking. Something I've had to overcome, that fear of standing in front of people and speaking. But through the years, I kept working at it, and here I am. And now I kind of enjoy it. But anyway, she drugged me to Disney, and probably my favorite place was Star Wars. Anybody ever been there? Star Wars at Disney? Anybody like Star Wars?
It's alright.
Yeah, a few. Okay. Well, if you get a chance, you gotta go. And then, probably one of the things I'm most proud of is this little guy here. So my first grandbaby 4 months ago. So, that's just been fantastic. Raising your kids is one thing, right? When you're always worried about them. And now this was kind of nice because you get to play with the grandbaby and say, all right, Mom, it's time for you to go back home and I can get some peace and quiet and I don't have to listen to kids screaming all night long. So the grandbaby is kind of nice. Some other things about me. So 5-time Ironman triathlon finisher. Anybody ever heard of Ironman? The Ironman race? Yeah, so you swim for a couple miles, usually like in a river or out in the ocean. So you swim for a couple miles and you get out of the water and you go ride your bicycle for about 112 miles. And then you get off the bicycle and then you go run a little marathon after the fact. And that takes you all day long to do 12 to plus hours to finish this event. So I managed to do that 5 times. And this is important. This is an important life lesson. Like, how many people think you could do that? How many people think that, yeah, I can go swim 2 miles, ride my bicycle 112 miles, and then go run a marathon? How many people think you can do that? Yeah. We got one. So a lot of people would say, no, I don't think I could do that. Sounds impossible, right? Yeah. Sounds impossible? Like, there's no way no human being could do that. That's the first thing I thought when a friend of mine, she come running into the bike shop. She's like, Bill, hey. I'm like, what? She's like, we gotta do a triathlon. I'm like, what is that? And then she starts telling me what an Ironman is. We gotta do an Ironman next. I'm like, you're on your mind. Are you crazy? Like, no human being, like, nobody's ever done that before, right? And come find out a lot of people have done it. And since I've always been in this triathlon Ironman group, there's been a young man here just recently with Down syndrome that was the first person with Down syndrome to actually finish a full Ironman triathlon. Now that really sounds impossible, right? Anybody know somebody with Down syndrome? Yeah, so a few of you. They really good at riding a bicycle? No. Right? Like their coordination and everything doesn't allow them to have the balance and everything they need to ride a bicycle. But yeah, here's a young man by the name of Nick Nickick. So go out to Instagram, look him up, follow him. He's a really cool young guy that decided that he's going to do an Ironman. And can't even ride a bicycle, can't run, can't swim, can't do any of these things. At least with me, like I was always an athlete in high school, so I could run, and I could swim, and I could ride a bicycle. But here's a young man that can't do any of these things. And it's a valuable life message, right? Like things that might seem impossible, if you just start, if you have that dream and you just start, you can finish it, right? You can get there if you got a dream, but it takes work. So somebody with Down syndrome, it takes work, and it takes what he calls getting 1% better every single day, right? So if you've got a dream, just keep the dream in focus, and just make sure you're moving 1% closer. And that's what I did in my life. Coming from small town Kentucky, wanting to make something of myself, to be the first in my immediate family to actually do something, to have a career, be a professional, be an executive in a Fortune 300 company. Took 1% focus every day. Like, how can I get a little bit better? What can I learn? What class can I take? What schooling can I go get? What people can I connect with? What can I do to fulfill my dreams, right? So that I can buy that new dirt bike one day. It took me a little while, but I finally got there. Next. So like I said, I get to travel all over the world. So you see all the stars here. So I've just been just about everywhere, but Russia, have not made it there yet. Haven't made it into Africa. Haven't made it into Australia. And Japan and China haven't made it there. But just about everywhere else I've been. I did miss this one. So I got to spend almost an entire winter in Puerto Rico working there. And that was awesome. 85 degrees every single day.
You get to take your wife with you.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, whenever she wants to go, then she'll go. We do live half the year all the way down here in Florida, and then half the year in Ohio. So we do have the pleasure of staying away from the snow. So I'm not the biggest fan. Like I said, I grew up in Kentucky, raised my kids in Texas. So I'm not the biggest fan of snow. So we spend half the year in Florida. So my professional career has made a lot of these opportunities available to me to go see the world and experience different things. And it's been quite the journey so far. So now back to the boring stuff. So now I got to talk about Dana Corporation, right? Because you're here for careers and possible careers. So Dana Corporation, we are a Fortune 300 company. So what that means is if you look at all the companies in the United States, we're in the top 300 as far as top line revenue. So $10.6 billion worth of car parts we sell every single year, and that ranges anywhere from drive shafts and axles to gaskets on engines and blah, blah, blah. We make all kinds of fun stuff. We have 88 manufacturing facilities, and I'm responsible for all 88 of these manufacturing facilities and their continuous improvement. So what that means is helping them to save money, save costs. So myself and my team, we're working on different projects in the plant, make machines run better, make robots do better, and so on and so forth. So we're responsible for all 88 of those. And then we date all the way back to 1904. Anybody ever heard of Henry Ford? Yeah, so my car people are like, yeah, we know Henry Ford. So Henry Ford and Dana were partners way back when. And actually, here recently, I was in our Pottstown, Pennsylvania plant, which is our oldest plant. So it came around about in 1904. And when we were digging through some of the paperwork and stuff, there was actually signed agreements for axles from Henry Ford. And that's pretty cool to see stuff like that. And the actual typewriter that Henry Ford and Dana would have written up those agreements on was actually there. So now there's we've created a museum there in our Pottstown, Pennsylvania plant for people to come and see where all of this first started. And the rest of that was boring, so we'll go on to the next slide. So our global map, so all of these blue is where we have manufacturing sites. So that, again, that's what's taken me to a lot of these other countries and allowed me the opportunity to go see different parts of the world. Dana Corporation being in all these. Probably my favorite is going to be down in here, Brazil and Argentina. And mainly because I really like steak. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, sorry, but I like steaks, and they have the best steaks in the world. So when you go out and get your professional career and you get an opportunity to go to Brazil and you like steak, make sure you do it, or Argentina. Some local locations. So I know you all still have a few more years before you really start thinking seriously about your professions, but we do have a manufacturing facility here in Fort Wayne, which is one of our oldest in the United States, so it's just behind Pottstown, Pennsylvania. We do have one in Lafayette, Indiana, which is one of our newer, more modern facilities, and then Napoleon, brand new facility, state of the art. All the robotics that you have over here, they've got it. They've got carts moving product around the floor automatically, robots doing all kinds of fun stuff. So Napoleon is probably our flagship. It's what Ford Motor Company says are their #1 supplier in the world. So we're really proud of that one. Sterling, Illinois, way out in the middle of nowhere, and then Robinson, Illinois, way out in the middle of nowhere. But if you're like me and you grew up out in the middle of nowhere, that probably wouldn't bother you either. So for my car people, these are all of our customers. So just about any car, tractor, side-by-side, dirt bikes, side-by-sides, Jeeps, let's see, tractor trailers, all the big trucks out there, we make all of their products. So we basically supply to every mobility customer in the world. So anything that moves, whether it moves on the dirt, whether it moves on the highway, there's a high probability that we have some component in that vehicle. That's pretty impressive, right? For a company to make products for everything that's out there moving down the road. So I'll go through these with you. So off highway, so as I was saying, all the tractors, anything that's off the road, sky lifts and cherry pickers, and if you go down the road and you see somebody in a golf cart, most likely it's got a Dana axle underneath the golf cart as well. Commercial vehicles, so all the big trucks that you see out there on the highway, we make all the axles for that. One of the interesting things that we've been doing lately is to turn these big monsters into electric vehicles, which has been pretty cool. So we do that up in Maumee, Ohio. So if you get on 24, I think it is, and just go straight towards Toledo, right before you get to Toledo, we got our world headquarters there. We have a bunch of young engineers that take these big tractor trailers and pull the diesel engines out of them and put these huge electric motors that are pretty significant size, and they'll rig them up with these electric motors and then put them on the highway and test them out. So if you're somebody that's thinking about engineering, some of the stuff they do is really, really cool. Now, they don't let me do any of that stuff anymore because I've been away from engineering. So I can go look and I can go talk to people inside of our electrification facilities, but they don't let me work anymore for some reason. And then electric vehicles. So all the EV cars that you see out there, the Teslas, the F-150 Lightning, General Motors now has a bunch of electric vehicles, and we're making all of the cooling plates and motors and wiring harnesses and all that fun stuff to keep those electric vehicles moving. And then light vehicles, so this is my favorite. So what we do in light vehicles is where I started with Dana, where I tend to like, because it's all stuff I can relate to, right? When I'm swapping out axles in my Jeep, when I'm getting the Dana 30s out and putting Dana 44s or Dana 60s in it, I can relate. So we do all of light vehicles. So again, just about every car or motorcycle out there that you see on the streets, we've got a part in that vehicle. We also do aftermarket. So one of these days you go out and you buy your Jeep and you decide that you want to get that Jeep fixed up nice enough to go to Moab and crawl on some rocks and stuff like that. We sell all of the components to make that happen. So we also have a huge aftermarket group inside the company. Anybody like Lamborghinis? Yeah, so I've got a few people. I'm surprised. Usually, like everybody's like, "Oh yeah, Lamborghinis are nice." So we do make the electric motor. So this is an award that we won for high performance electric motors. So we're making those Lamborghinis go faster than what they even did before with the gas engine on. All right, then some more boring stuff. So we've made over 4 billion electric motors for electric vehicles, and a lot of our focus is on making the world a better place, helping the environment, things like that. That's why we're into the electric vehicles. Also, if you look, We're one of the top employers. So just about every manufacturing site you go to, you're going to see that they've won awards for the top employers. And then, as I said, taking care of the planet. Next slide, Abby. So again, more boring stuff, but you know, and my team is leading a lot of this as well. Like one, for example, is protecting water sources. So how do we make sure that there's going to be enough water for our future generations? So we help our plants to reduce their water usage. We're putting in solar fields next to our plants. So we've got a couple windmills down in Texas that we've built. So we're doing all of those things, helping also the plants set up to where they can recycle, so the cans and stuff and plastic bottles just don't go in the trash, but they go in the recycle. So although we burn a lot of energy, we're also trying to do our part to help make the world a better place and put some of that back in that clean energy. All right, so now let's talk about some of the better stuff. So this is our executive team here at Dana Corporation. And you see the careers here from human resources down to purchasing. And so anybody interested in working with people when you get out of school? Anybody got that dream? So we got one. Wants to work, couple that want to, maybe work with people. So the reason why I bring this up is a lot of people think, oh, well, you're just a car company, so all you do is car stuff, right? Well, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes in a car company than just making cars. So we have people that work with people. So they're making sure that that list of top plants that we become and stay a top plant. So we have human resources, we have operations, which is where I reside, where we make the widgets go down the line and then we build those axles. Finance, any financial people that I want to do finances when I get out of high school? Yeah, no. I don't blame you there. And so those are the people that's making sure that they balance the books, right? They balance our $10.5 billion checkbook. They're the ones that balance that checkbook and make sure that we don't go broke. Then legal, anybody want to be a lawyer? No lawyers, maybe one. So we do have our own lawyers. So when people get us in trouble, they can go get us out of trouble. Engineers, any engineers? No engineers? Wow, okay. So the engineers, one's designing all of those axles and cars. Then commercial, any salespeople? Anybody want to be in sales? Yeah, I'm getting ready to ask, okay, what do you all want to do? What about IT? Anybody like working on computers? No? We're really striking out here. What about buying stuff? Everybody likes buying stuff. Come on.
You guys were just looking at online shopping the other day.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you don't like to buy stuff.
Yeah. So we have people, that's their full-time job, is buying stuff. So they're buying all of our components and stuff. All right, so nobody's interested in a few people here, so let's go on to the next one. So here's the operational careers. So we have people that oversee safety to make sure that our employees go home with all their fingers and all of their eyeballs and stuff like that. So they're making sure that things are safe for us. We have people making sure that our products are high quality, that they're not going to get out onto the street and have a quality problem. So I have people do that. We have people that wrench on machines. So we got to have people keep those robots going, right? Keep the machines going, keep product moving down the line. So we have people to do that. We have people that do the controls engineering. So they're programming robots, programming PLCs to make sure that the equipment's running. Then you have my team, which is the operational excellence that's just looking to make everything better inside the company, make people's lives better, make employees' lives better, and help save the company a bunch of money. Then material planning, the people, again, that are purchasing stuff, making sure it gets to our plants, and then making sure our products get to our customers. All right, so now, maybe this will get your attention a little bit. This might help you to actually decide what you want to be when you finally get out of here. So I threw this out here, just kind of give you an idea of where most jobs will land you financially, right? So if you look down here at a lawyer making about $141,000 a year. So if you're a lawyer, well, I got a pretty good life, making that kind of money. You probably got a pretty decent house and, and you may not have your dream car, but probably got a pretty good car as well. And then as you see, as you come up through here, so I asked, does anybody want to be in IT? And nobody bid on that one. Well, these people are making about $162,000 a year, so that's pretty significant, right? Now you probably, you got that Mustang you want, or another car that you want, and you could start to, go on pretty nice vacations. So we mentioned the lawyer, so we got IT, and then a chief executive. So the person that runs the company making about 213. Now you're making really good money, right? So now you're probably in a nicer neighborhood and got one of the nicer cars, all the way up to anesthesiologist that's making 300. Now you're really making some big bucks. And I show you this because this is traditionally where everybody wants to go, right? Like, oh, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a financial person. I ask you too if you want to be financial, and nobody raised their hands, and that's pretty good money there, right? But these are typically what careers people want to go into. But then you have those like me, it's like, man, I don't really want to be a lawyer, right? I don't want to go argue with people all the time. Like, it's exhausting enough to argue with the wife every once in a while. I don't want to do that for a living, right? And then oral, I really don't want to be messing with people's mouths. That just seems gross to me. That's good for some people, but for me, it's like, no, I'm out. Airline, yeah, I don't think I want to do that, especially now since I travel all the time. I'm in the air just about every week. I'd rather not be. But this is traditionally what we think. So what I wanted to show you is where you could be if you work for a company like Dana Corporation. I will tell you, the chief executive officer here makes $213,000 a year. If you look at a Fortune 300 company, our chief executive officer makes more than all these people combined. That's pretty impressive, right? Because this CEO, add that CEO up with all the others and our CEO, and it's public information, so I'm not telling you his business. If you get out online, you search Dana executives, it's going to show you all the executives and how much they make. So CEO, you can add all these up, and he makes more money than them. Our presidents and vice presidents, you can add all these up, and they'll make more money than that. And I tell you that because there's other options out there than just being a lawyer, or just being a judge, or just being one of these others. You can go to school, be an engineer, go back and get your business degree, and then you can make good money as well, working even in the automotive industry. Hit the next button here, and it gives you an idea. Keep going, keep going, keep going. I should have took all those out. But just to kind of give you an idea of where, if you wanted to stay in the automotive industry, if you wanted to work on cars and mess around with Jeeps, our engineers are making, in this category here, our engineers are. Some of our purchasing people and some of our operations people are making even more money than that. So what I'll tell you is, this isn't your only option when you get out there in the world. When you start thinking about college, engineering, just getting down and working hard can make you a lot more money.
I have a quick question for you. Is the Dana Corporation a corporation that would help, like, let's say you started a career, you're, like an entry level type job, do they have anything to help pay for education? Actually,
that's a fantastic question. So the question is absolutely yes. So when I first started going to college, as I said, I went to Cincinnati State to get my electromechanical engineering degree. And when I decided to go back to college, they funded the whole bill, paid for everything. When I wanted to go back and get my master's degree, they paid for absolutely everything. And this falls into my advice for you. Like, first of all, education is freedom. What do you think I mean by that? What does that mean? Education is freedom. Anybody? What does that mean? Are you all my introverts here today? So education is freedom. So as I said, I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, and I wanted out of it. And it was the education that created a path for me to get out of that, right? To give me that freedom. It also helps you as you go through life. Life is rough, right? It's not the easiest thing. Anybody pay attention to what the environment's like right now? Right? Inflation is starting to go crazy again. We got tariffs coming at us. And what does that mean? When inflation goes high and tariffs go high, what's that mean?
Everything's a lot more expensive.
Yeah, everything's a lot more expensive. So then you gotta make the decision. Do I drink that Monster today or do I drink a water today? Because now, I might need to save a couple bucks back, right? And so times get hard. But what I tell you is through education, you get a little bit of freedom from those types of things. Like when the tariffs come and inflation comes, you protect yourself from that because all those jobs I've shown, you're making that money where it doesn't matter as much to you, right? Like you see our politicians, do you think they care about tariffs and inflation?
No, because they're rich.
Yeah, they're rich, right? And so what they've done is they've made sure to get the education to gain that freedom, that they're free from all these things, these cycles that happen in the world. When gas prices go through the roof, they got a little bit of freedom from that. They don't feel the impact from that. So that's why I say education is freedom, because it gets you out of the situation and it also protects you from future situations as well. So my advice, absolutely never stop learning. So great question. And when a company says, hey, we'll pay for your education, you gotta take advantage of it. When the school says, hey, we've got this opportunity for you to take this class, maybe on a weekend or something, make sure you raise your hand and say, I'll do that one, right? As you're going through life, learn absolutely everything that you can. Even if it doesn't really, if you don't think it pertains to you at that moment, go learn anyway. Because again, the education, that knowledge is freedom. And that's the one thing that I've done throughout my career is every time they said, hey, do you want to go learn how to do this? And I say, absolutely, where do I sign, right? So go learn everything. I know that's hard to digest now when you're at this age, a freshman in high school, because you're not really worried about those things yet. But remember that some bald-headed guy from Kentucky told me to learn everything I can. One day when you're out there in the workforce and they offer you some education, make sure you remember me and go do that. Do what you love. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I heard that from a football coach that I'm great friends with. You all wouldn't know him. Nobody in here is old enough to know him, but he used to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons back in the 90s when Deion Sanders, and you probably don't know that name either, were prime time was big time in football. He was the coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And I've known him for several years, and one of the things he always told me, and I always agreed with him, is if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. What do you think that means?
I mean, working is kind of like a chore, but if you like doing the work, it's not good.
That's right. That's exactly right. So I get to tell people, I don't really work, right? I really don't. Like I go to work every single day and I absolutely love what I do. I love the people that work for me. I love the people. I love my boss. He called me yesterday. He's like, hey man, I love you. Thanks for coming back to work today. And I'm like, yeah man, I love you too. Like a lot of people think that's weird. But it's because my boss and I, we absolutely love what we do. We love who we work for. And as a result, it never, ever feels like work. So, and then I'll go back to this one. So if you've got a dream, chase that dream, right? Like I started out telling you about Nick Nickick and the Iron Man that had a dream of finishing an Iron Man and he had Down syndrome. If you've got a dream, keep the dream and keep chasing the dream and don't ever give up on the dream. If a small town Kentucky kid can get himself out of Kentucky and go work for Fortune 300 as an executive, anybody can do anything. If Nick Nickick can go from never riding a bicycle to riding a bicycle to finishing Ironman, anybody can do anything. Do y'all believe that? Do you believe that you can actually do anything you want to do in life? I see a lot of heads nodding, and that's a good thing, because here's the bad part about life. There's been a long line of people out there telling you you can't do this, you can't do that. High school teachers told me, because I was a wild kid, You probably noticed if you watch my hands, they shake pretty bad. That's because I was hyperactive when I was young, and I'm still pretty hyperactive. Abby's mom was offering me up some sugar this morning, and I said, please don't do that to the high school kids because I'm already bouncy enough, and then I'd really be bouncing off the walls. So I had plenty of teachers that said, you can't sit still, you can't focus, you'll never amount to anything. I had my first bosses said, your degree's not good enough, you'll never amount to anything. And so in life, you're going to have plenty of people tell you what you can't do. Do not tell yourself the same thing. So dream big, chase your dreams, don't let anybody tell you any different, and stay focused on your dream. So never doubt yourself. Like I said, it's been a long line of people doubting you, right? No matter what career you choose, there's going to be a lot of people say, that guy never amounted to anything. She'll never amount to anything. There's going to be plenty of those people. Do not doubt yourself. You're good enough. If you stay focused, you'll get there. Build your networks. So as you go through life, right, try to have more friends than you do enemies. I worked for Dana and I left for a little while, and then I came back to Dana because of my network, because of my boss. My boss is like, hey man, one of these days you're going to work for me again. I'm like, okay, whatever. And sure enough, he calls me back and offers me a whole bunch of money. I said, oh yeah, I'll be right there. Well, when do I need to be there? I'll start as soon as I can. So build the networks, because you never know. If you have more friends than enemies, sooner or later one of those friends are going to call and say, hey, you've got an opportunity for you. And then as my boss always says, be nice, be effective as you go through life. We need more nice people in the world, don't we? So be nice, be effective. It's one of the things that I've proven, and when I finally decided to step out and be a teacher or professor, and my boss and I talk about it all the time, the book that we're going to write is about that, is that you can be nice and be successful in life. And if you're just effective, then you'll be successful in life. So, that's my story. That's my advice. And I don't know, did I run out of time?
Nope, no, you're perfect.
4 minutes.
I got 4 minutes. All right, we got 4 minutes for questions. Any questions for me? Anything you want to know?
I'll throw in 5 empowered dollars.
Ooh.
Do you guys do anything with airplane parts? Like, have you ever, or thought of branching out into that?
That's a good question. We've never made airplane parts, but it's a good question though. Especially with all the EV and cooling stuff we do. Oh, look at the hands that we got going up. Hey, do I get 5 for answering?
Sure.
Go ahead.
What do you think, your favorite thing is about your job?
Working with people. That's an easy one for me. It's funny, right? Because I told you that I'm an introvert, and if you was to talk to my wife, she will tell you that's not my thing. But I absolutely love working for people. So when Abby said, "Hey, you want to come talk to class?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love that kind of stuff." So it's being around people, helping people, is what I love to do. It's a good question, but it's really tough. It's the same as Nick finishing the Ironman, right? And if you're an introvert in this room, you know it's tough, right? Like the idea of standing in front of people scares you to death. The idea of going through an airport scares you to death. What I would say is just constantly putting yourself in that situation and pushing through it, right? It's pushing through that nervousness and just doing it. And the more you do it, the more it feels, it's easier, and you're more comfortable doing it because you've done it so much. You just kind of it becomes second nature to you. So you just gotta stick with it.
So I know Pontiac is discontinued, but do you know if your company used to make parts for Pontiac?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the axles and some of the engine components, and we definitely made the gaskets and stuff as well. Yep. We got a question here?
Do you still wish that you can go back to your undergraduate one?
Yes and no. So Abby and I were talking about that this morning. So here's the fun thing about life, right? And probably something I should have mentioned is your life is going to change. So I know you probably have some dreams and aspirations right now, but that's going to change. But for me, what I plan to do, so I wanna go back and get my PhD in operational excellence, which is my career. So then I can go teach young people what I've done to be successful and what I've seen, to drive success inside of organizations. So I have a heavy focus on building strategy. So that 1% I talk about, it's how I teach inside of organizations. I teach presidents and vice presidents of the organization to have strategy. So I tell them to dream and then chase the dream. So, yeah, one of these days I'll do it.